Why don't you take a moment to kind of introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit about your background in the green industry and what your new role is.
Lucas Castor, currently the president and CGO for Chapel Valley Landscape. Been in the industry since I graduated from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, in 2000. Was with a national provider for several years in the Midwest, in both Chicago, Indianapolis. Spent a lot of time in Cleveland, and now probably 12 years ago relocated my wife and three daughters out to the East Coast, where we still reside. Obviously, have changed employers since, but no, it's been an interesting journey. So that's my background in a 45-second nutshell.
Well, and 2025 was kind of an interesting year for you yourself. It sounds like that was a year of two different promotions. So, how has your role and daily life sort of changed with Chapel Valley?
Um, the role has changed, but I'm sure you and I'll talk a little bit more about this. This was a planned transition, something that we as a company have been talking about. Even when I first met with our founder, Landon, who has unfortunately passed away at this point, still work with his son James, most recently with Bill Feaster, our president who retired. So some of this was because of retirements. Other portions of it were because, yes, I had expressed an interest for new challenges, new opportunities, and the ability to really work with our teams, work with our customers to continue to expand upon everything that's made this company great since 1968.
Yeah. And now that you're several months into this latest role,
Mhm.
I guess what has surprised you most about the position? Are there some things that kind of took you some time to get accustomed to?
Um, I'll give a lot of credit to Bill Feaster, my predecessor. But there's the nuances of the day to day that you really just cannot explain until you're in the seat. And that goes with any role, but especially with this one, there are certainly some days that I come in and just like, okay, I was not prepped for this, but we will get through it. And again, we've got good teams, we've got good people, we've got good employees who are always looking to do what's right for the company. So listening to them, and not saying that any decision is made by committee, but listening to other people's opinions and understanding they have value. I think that's been one of the biggest changes for me.
Yeah. I want to jump back to something you said a few minutes ago about continuing what has made the company so great. If you could
Mhm.
kind of relate back to when you first started with Chapel Valley, what kind of drew you to the company, and what are some of those things that you are really hoping to either continue or, I guess grow or improve
Mhm.
in your role?
Okay. Well, again, as the son of two educators, you actually just asked me three questions in one. So I may ask you to repeat some of that. But what drew me to Chapel initially was, again, the company that I originally started my career with was also family run. Um, large was growing, dealt with, had great customer service, great renewal rates. Once they decided to move more towards a private equity type model, which is again perfectly fine for some, it was one that I wasn't interested in. And so when I decided to make the change, fortunately, because of location of where we moved at the East Coast with Chapel Valley primarily being in the DMV, now down in Atlanta, um, to me, it was my first phone call of, do you have a position? Do you have a role? Is there something I could assist with? So now I'm going to make you go back and ask me with the second part of your question.
Yeah, well, even before I get to that, I just am kind of curious, how familiar were you with Chapel Valley at that time? And
I knew of Chapel. Certainly seen their vehicles on the road. Um, um, not incredibly. I had to do some research, honestly, because again, coming from where I was at, where you're talking about a company that was at the time nearing $1 billion in top line revenue, it was going to be a change. So
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be kind of going back to where I began coming out of college to a smaller organization. So again, it did require some research. I'm not going to say that, yeah, I was immediately like, oh well, I'm going to call Chapel. It was like, okay, let's take a step back, let's do some reading and figure out what would be a good fit.
So those were the things that kind of appealed to you prior to joining the company. What did you learn about the company that appealed to you once you joined? And what are some of those things that you want to continue to improve upon?
Sure. No, I think what I learned about the company was again, it's really the people. Um, there is such an emphasis on taking care of our employees and in doing so, taking care of our customers. And I know some of that sounds cliche, but it's valid. I've with my background being a landscape architect and coming through school, I've got friends that are across the country and we still have conversations. I find myself at a very unique and special place where for myself, this is an absolutely perfect fit.
I guess, when was the moment for you that you knew that you wanted to be part of the strategic vision for Chapel Valley?
All right, so this one's going to sound a little bit conceited, but
I'm sure it's not that bad.
no, it was honestly day one. I mean, I again with my prior company, I wanted to play a larger role. When they made the change that they did about 6 months in was when I decided it wasn't going to be a good fit. So I do look to challenge myself. Um, I want to help others grow in their careers professionally, personally. So it was very early on. Those were initial conversations with Landon, with James. Um, I made it very well known. I'm not just this is not a career move just for the sake of making a career move.
Yeah, absolutely. With your new role, the hope was that you would continue to develop the business development team. What does that sort of mean? Is it working with the sales department and really
Hmm?
honing in on certain things, or are there other elements that maybe I don't know about?
No, I think it's I still have either weekly or biweekly discussions with every member of our sales team. Um, I was actually just before you and I started this, I was on with LinkedIn. I've got folks that reach out and ask, do we have opportunities? And I let them know I'm happy to have a conversation. If there's a fit, we'll find a spot. So really my role with the sales team is to again just continue to make sure I hire and work with people that want to either grow themselves or understand what our culture is and what we can add to our customers. It's finding that right mix of individual that is likable but is not overly salesy. And again, I don't mean that as a shot at anybody. I'm just making a statement that it's finding that right mix. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tricky. How do you, I guess, from your standpoint, like how do you find somebody, especially in the interviewing process?
Mhm.
How do you find somebody who's going to be that right mix? Like, what are some of the things that you ask them that helps lead you to think that they might be the right fit?
So really what I normally, first of all, let me preface it with usually it's a series of interviews. It's not just myself. It may be myself, it may be head of HR, it may be one of our branch leaders. Um, it's making sure again others get a sense of is this going to be the right one? If I'm not going to sit here and tell you I can always just be like, oh, that's the right person. Normally, what I do is simply just ask, okay, when you're regardless of what industry you came from, whether it be landscape, whether it be, restoration, whether it be car sales, whatever. How do you vet a customer? How do you connect with a customer? What
Hmm.
are the questions you ask them? Because that to me, right there says, okay, they understand how to connect and how to build a relationship and not just sell. It's really building that relationship. That's what it's going to really put pen to paper at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when Chapel Valley announced your promotion, they also announced promotions for Josh and Tammy and Brian.
Yeah.
How do you hope that they will help you transition into this new role, and how have you sort of seen them transition into their new roles as well?
Well, I'm hoping they do a lot more work. No, let me start at the beginning. Tammy's our VP of HR. Tammy and I started right about the same time at Chapel. So she has absolutely been a go-to. Um, I've been taught throughout my career, if you have somebody that's very strong with HR and again is able to take care of your people, your life's going to be a whole lot easier. And Tammy is absolutely done that throughout. I mean, throughout the time I've known her. Josh has been with us for over 25 years. He started in irrigation. He then opened up our offices in Richmond, led those for years, worked as a regional leader, now as COO. So we have several conversations, and he's been instrumental in helping not only with business development, but obviously with the operational side of it. Brian Hoffman, I don't want to date him, but Brian's been with us for over 35 years. So he's seen every aspect of construction from residential to high-end commercial, especially working in the DMV. There's a lot of complicated projects. There's a lot of permitting issues to deal with. So having them around, the four of us just really have a good synergy of understanding how to interact, how to have conversations, all kind of knowing this is where our lanes are. Um, I'm in Tammy's office now simply because the lighting in mine is absolutely terrible. So I did text her earlier that, hey, I'm borrowing your office for the afternoon.
Well, Lucas, I only have one more question for you. And
Sure.
again, I really appreciate your time, but I'm curious if we were to have had this conversation, or if we do have this conversation a year from
Mhm.
today,
Sure.
what do you hope is different about Chapel Valley? And I guess what do you hope is still the same?
The same is again, I'm not looking to make dramatic change. My job is really to kind of steward the growth and the culture of everything that's been built. The reality is, as technologies change, as certain platforms, uh, opportunities like those present themselves, it's again understanding, does this make sense for the organization? Is this going to help our people? Is this going to help our customers? Those are the kind of going, I think, back to one of your earlier questions where when I started 25 years ago, if my morning began with, okay, what's for lunch today? Now it's, okay, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, what does this look like? So I think that would be that's the change if there's anything coming. But honestly, from a culture standpoint, it's been built and it's been solidified. I just have to keep things moving forward.